Hey guys, my hair is... I need to get it cut pretty soon, maybe. Then again, chances like an emo guy over here, and his hair literally goes down to here. So... This is going to be a part 2 to that whole Tommy Merlin thing, because I could not record. I can only record this video up to 7 minutes and 41 seconds. Don't know if that's going to do it. There might be a part 2. You know what? I'm actually going to screen snap this, because my camera gives me a limit, okay? So, like, right here. Bam, snapped. Okay? I'm doing this just as proof that I don't want to make these part 2s or part 3s. I want them all in. This literally means more work for me, and it's not fun sometimes. Sometimes it's fun, actually, but... So this is going to be a part 2 to Tommy Merlin. Mostly the explanation of that dynamic I was talking about. So, like, the dynamic of each show would be very different. Let's say The Flash gets canceled. Barry Allen and some of Team Flash has to move over to Arrow. Maybe like Killer Frost and Kid Flash guest star every now and then. But Barry Allen is now a main staple of Arrow. The dynamic would change so much, it would be a completely different show. Screw a Season 7 or Season 8. It would just be Arrow 2.0, Season 1 and 2. So, you know, that's how Tommy Merlin was. And this is why I want him back, because he had such a cool dynamic. He was the Jar Jar Binks of Arrow, which, not a bad thing. I myself love Jar Jar Binks, but having an actual Jar Jar Binks in Arrow, I would punch the crap out of my TV, I'm just saying. Someone's watching this, and they're going to have some magic time reality warping skills, and there's going to be a guy dressed up as Jar Jar in the next episode of Arrow. Don't do that. But basically, Tommy Merlin, he added this whole, like, whenever things got too serious, up until the end of Season 1, because at the end, his dynamic was crushed. It was just this one, like... What's a good example? You guys have watched the show, you know what I mean, but let me find a good example real quick. This is another Sonic example, but I've been searching for 2 minutes on an example, so just bear with me here. If you've played Sonic Lost World, at a certain point, Tails and Sonic start arguing excessively. They're fighting each other more than they are fighting Eggman or fighting the Zeddies. So it was like that. When that was how Tommy Merlin turned out at a certain point. Halfway through Season 1, I think. Like maybe around episode 18, 19, around there, is when this all started happening. They weren't getting very much done because Oliver was focused on maintaining his friendship with Tommy, which was gone. And also, the Three Ghosts episode in Season 2, it actually seemed to me like Oliver was talking to Tommy, which is weird, instead of a hallucination of Tommy. Like, judging on how things went with Shadow and Slade, we know for a fact those were hallucinations. But what about Tommy? What about Tommy? Because, like, was that a hallucination as well? We remember when Barry injected him with the rat poison. Hallucinations or sweating or whatever. In that funny bit with Barry, like, oh, are you sweating? And he's like, boy, do I look like I'm sweating? It's obviously the other thing. And it's like, hallucination? Yeah. It seemed like he was actually talking to Tommy, to me anyways, which is kind of weird. I'm gonna dismiss that completely. But like, what if he was? So, so just right over here, do you guys want to see Tommy Merlin back on the show? And do you want to resurrect some other characters? There's an iCard for my suggested characters, or you could just hit other, and bam, you have your own characters to put in there. But yeah, what do you guys think? Like, Should they do this? And if not, what should they do? But he added this dynamic of, like, sometimes he had a romantic side for Laurel, which didn't always pay out. But, like, they don't have a character that does this anymore. I mean, Felicity does it, but she does it in her own way. Tommy had a unique output on the show. And if they can't get the dynamic from 1 through 18 of the show, of season 1, then maybe they can get a more, a combined dynamic of season 1 Tommy, put it into one thing instead of like the ending of season 1 and the beginning of season 1. He had his own thing there. And it's like, the first episode is a perfect example of this. The first ever episode of Arrow. Tommy's like, oh, in Lost, they were all dead, I think. So he could be serious at times, but that's what he was focused on, was TV, money, current events. He didn't care what was going on or what was important. He got kidnapped by some guys trying to get information out of Oliver. And he's just like, he comes back and he's like, you probably shouldn't go do that. Or, again, Lost. They were all dead, I think. So yeah, that kind of dynamic, and I want more of that. And we are reaching the time limit. Did you guys, another poll, did you guys like Tommy? Or am I just the only one? And who would win in a real fight? Like, it seemed like the one in Crisis on Earth X was, because you had a bunch of other characters, intervening. Who would win? Prometheus of Earth X, which was Tommy, or Green Arrow of Earth 1, the CW stuff. That'll be this superpowered thing. Alright, there's a poll there. I'm going to get to editing this video the second I upload it, and then I'm going to bed. So, bye. It's like 4:20. Not actually. Yeah, I wasn't making a reference there. It's actually 4:20. It just, But yeah, 4:20 a.m., so I gotta get going. Bye.